Welcome to the new studio. I got a new desk. This is the E7 Pro 2026 from FlexiSpot. I've been wanting a standing desk since Pat got his in 2022. His is also the E7 Pro, so now we have matching desks. Initially, I was also going to get a tabletop from the hardware store, just like Pat's, but I was lazy, so I just got one directly from FlexiSpot. And I don't regret it because it has these smooth round corners that is very clumsy hilly proof, as Pat would say. On my desk is a Samsung Smart Monitor. I think it's the M7 from either 2022 or 2023. I don't quite remember. My keyboard and mouse are from the Logitech Pebble series, and I use this monitor mainly for gaming, or I would put on a show or some music while I edit on my MacBook. I use the 2024 16-inch MacBook Pro with Retina display. This took a huge chunk out of my wallet, but my previous MacBook was like 8 years old and barely hanging on, so I'm very happy with the upgrade. I wanted my desk to be mainly clutter-free, so I only have a lamp that I 3D printed, this cat bus that I overpaid for at a Studio Ghibli exhibition, and a Snoopy diorama that was from a mystery box. I hung my YouTube button here where I can see it every day. This sounds really silly, but I used to be really embarrassed to hang it in an obvious spot, but now I'm like, why should I be embarrassed? It's a great achievement and I should be proud. And this room is supposed to be a bedroom, which is why there's a random light switch in the middle of the wall. Below my desk is what was originally an Alex drawer unit from IKEA, which I added some MDF fronts and trim and painted it as well. From my last video, you would have seen that I 3D printed custom organizers for my stationery, and I'm slowly working my way for the rest of the drawers as well. My desk chair is from IKEA and it was really comfortable the first few years, but now that it's getting to the 4th year, I'll need to find a more durable replacement soon. I don't know if you noticed, but I also hung some new blinds. These are less orange and slightly more sheer than my previous ones, which I really like because it lets in more light. In my previous studio, the track shelves ended up super cluttered with storage boxes, which I really hated. So I promised myself this time that I would only put the pretty stuff up there for my eyes to feast on. But there are still very many functional items on here, like my Cavissel paper tray from IKEA, a basket I thrifted for €1 and added some mason jars to store some stationery. There's also a random encyclopedia that I thrifted because number 24 is my lucky number. Below, I have the IKEA mope that I turned into floating nightstands back in 2021. They've just been sitting around since we got new nightstands, so I was really happy to be able to use one of them in here, and it stores all my markers. Next to it is a €9 pleated lamp from IKEA that I am so in love with, but it was slightly difficult to assemble it. And this switchboard thingy that Pat gave me that tells the temperature and humidity levels in the room. I also finally got the viral donut lamp, which is now half the price in Germany. Fun fact, I wanted it the moment it came out, but Pat absolutely hates the oranginess of it, so I didn't have anywhere in our home to put it until now because this space is exclusively mine, so this orange donut is allowed to exist here. Next to it is another number 24 encyclopedia and a calendar I got from Singapore that I honestly very often forget to flip. This is a box from a puzzle that I got from my mother-in-law last Christmas, and following the rule of threes, I just added my little Totoro figurine and a thrifted brass candle holder. At the end of the shelf is my all-time favorite vase from H&M Home that I have had for quite a few years now. Right above, I have some books, a planter that I 3D printed, and some pretty storage boxes. I also added an LED strip right on top for more ambient lighting and hid the cable in a cable channel and plugged it in an extension bar that I stuck to the wall below the shelves. So the rest of the room is pretty much storage. I chose these white IKEA cabinets to kind of blend it into the wall as much as possible. I used the planner on the IKEA website and tried to plan out what goes where before I bought the shelves. On the very left, we have all my craft supplies. This collection is about 15 to 20 years old worth of things, so there is a lot. The two boxes on top hold the main supplies that I need for polymer clay and beading. This shelf holds larger items like these canvases and A3 paper pads, some magazine holders that I use for storing my light pad, various printing paper, sketchbooks, and folders. These trays hold A4 paper pads, and I dump receipts in here to later file them away for tax purposes. I also have a bunch of journals and sketchbooks in front, next to this box of sorted out photos and more markers from my bullet journaling days. I installed 3 of these wire baskets that can be pulled out so that I can reach everything easily. The top is filled with paints and more polymer clay supplies, safety equipment like a face mask, goggles, and these disposable gloves for handling resin. The middle drawer has a bunch of beads, cookie cutters, stamps, and quite a few festive DIY kits that I was supposed to do over last December, but I got into a depressive rut, so they lay untouched. Maybe I can try again this December. The bottom drawer holds label makers, stickers, paper packaging, and letter writing sets. Below, I have a couple of drawers that hold ribbons, washi tape, and various stationery like this glue tape dispenser and a heavy-duty stapler. Then I have a bunch of yarn that I honestly have no idea how on earth I ended up collecting so many of. And some other DIY materials like wooden beads and embroidery hoops that I used for filming DIY tutorials a few years ago. I plan on using them to make things for the shop, so hopefully this drawer will empty out soon. And right at the bottom is the gift wrap drawer. I try to reuse these paper and bubble wraps whenever I can, and I also stored various contact paper that I've used in both our old and current apartment. In the middle cabinet, I stored this new sewing machine that was a Christmas present from Pat. I also have my UV box and a pasta machine that I use for polymer clay. Below, I stored the more bulky and unsightly items like my vacuum and miter saw. They're both pretty light, so it's very easy to take them out and store them back in again. This pull-out basket holds my DIY tools such as various paint samples, Mod Podge, a cheap iron, and recycled chopsticks that I use as stir sticks. In the corner are cheaper brushes that I use for applying wax or other things that would ruin a brush. The basket below holds all of my good painting supplies, and the bottommost basket holds all of my different tripods. This one is my favorite tripod. It recently broke and I've since replaced it, but I used this one to film all of my videos, so it's still too sentimental to part with. The rightmost cabinet is mainly for storing larger pieces of leftover wood. I added 2 braces to the back so that the wood is not just leaning against the flimsy back of the Plaza cabinet, and I also screwed in a stopper at the bottom here so that they wouldn't slide. But the most exciting part of this cabinet is perhaps this convex mirror that I got from IKEA, and it gives the most interesting shots. Lastly, at the top, I stored miscellaneous tools and supplies that I rarely reach for. Very randomly, our camping tent is also here, although I don't know if we will be able to get it out of that cupboard again. I intentionally left the top corner out so that the whole wall wouldn't look so heavy and blocky. Here we have my main DIY tools area, aka my trusty Ivar shelves. I stored mostly the same things here as in my previous studio tour, so if you watched that video, you can skip this part. But otherwise, there are a few small changes here and there. Like I mentioned in the makeover video, I had to downsize the Ivar to fit this wall, so my pegboard is now half the size. I still managed to fit all of my most used tools with the help of some 3D printed parts like this screwdriver holder. Below is my screw organizer that I added washi tape labels to. And I also scaled down my charging station to just Ryobi, Parkside, a USB-C cable, and my camera battery charger. It's connected to a smart switch that Pat set up to turn off automatically when it detects that everything is fully charged, so that's pretty cool. In the middle, I store various cans of wood stain, paint, primer, sealers, and so on. On top, I have some recycled magazines that I use for protecting surfaces while painting, along with these recycled IKEA cardboard that help to prop things up to paint. These are the leftover moped drawers that I saved to spray paint things on, and next to it are boxes of wood and wall putty. And I also installed these rattan doors from the Ivar series to reduce the visual clutter. Below, I have some foldable crates that hold my most used items like tape, clamps, and sanding pads. Inside the drawers are various batteries and drill bits, different types of cutters, measuring tape, and smaller bits and bobs. The last drawer holds larger tools that we don't usually reach for but are good for emergencies, like the hot air gun. And all the way at the bottom are these large pink bicycle crates that I store spray paints and drop cloths in. Then we have all my tools. If you're just starting out to DIY and use power tools, I would recommend getting a jigsaw. This was my very first one that costs, I think, less than 20 euros, and it helped to cut wood so much faster than hand sawing it. Once you get more confident and comfortable with power tools, you can slowly upgrade to the circular saw and miter saw. On top, I have all my various jigs. Again, if you're just starting out, the only thing I would recommend is a pocket hole jig, which is very easy to use, and you can build any basic piece of furniture with pocket holes. These 4 crates hold smaller pieces of offcuts that come in useful time to time, so that's why I hold on to them. In these translucent IKEA boxes, I store different types of hardware, and on the floor is a rolling crate that holds longer pieces of offcuts. Lastly, we have the random things in the room, like this arch mirror that came from our old apartment. Since moving here, it has just sat in our storage room, so I was really happy to finally have a good spot to hang it. The large Darmstadt poster also had no place to go in Pat's new man cave, so it's right by my door now. And this rolling cart was actually an addition to my old studio when I ran out of space for my handmade crafts, but now that I have a bigger space, it's just a surface for my cutting mat.